And tonight on our Great American panel, he's a former New York Republican Senator. Fox News contributor Al D'Amato is back. She is the former chairwoman and chief executive officer of Playboy Enterprise. Christy Hefner is also back. He is a former NFL running back and currently a sports analyst for Yahoo. Tiki Barber, the one and only, is here. Guys, good to see you all. Thanks for being here. Now, we're talking sports here in the break. At least
we're talking tennis, though.
Yeah, well, what do you mean we're talking tennis, though, Tiki? I'm sorry, I'm not a running back.
I'm
I
running
threw you
back.
the football, you caught it.
Caught it? Was that a dream for you?
Oh, man, come on.
I'm just joking.
All right, let me start with Charlie Sheen. I'm not going to reveal, but I've had a couple of email exchanges with him today. And very interesting to me because, you know, what the media builds up, the media wants to knock. They want this guy down on his face in the mud, and then they want to say, I told you so. You know, he's given some interviews, fairly controversial. Let's run some of the shots.
Are you embarrassed that your children will read about this one day?
God, no. It's talking about an education. And then, like, this, and then that's the guy, and he's our dad, and we can get all the answers and the truth. Wow, winning. It's how you perceive it. I'm tired of pretending like I'm not special. I'm tired of pretending like I'm not bitching a total freaking rock star from Mars. And people can't figure me out. They can't process me. I don't expect them to. You can't process me with a normal brain.
How do you avoid slipping back into that again?
I don't know. I just won't do it. I mean, that's... I will not believe that if I do something, then I have to follow a certain path because it was written. And it was written for normal people, people that aren't special, people that don't have tiger blood and, you know, Adonis DNA.
You know, Tiki, you're a total bitchin' rock star from Mars, but...
I never proclaimed that I had Adonis blood or tiger blood and Adonis DNA. But,
yeah.
You know, it's interesting to hear him rant and almost fall off the deep end. But I often feel like it's on purpose. I feel like he's trying to make a point about his contract at CBS, whether it's he feels underappreciated, he feels like he's not getting along with his boss, and so he's speaking out in certain ways. But the thing that always struck me hearing about this story is that he always came to work, and he did his job, obviously, to great success because the show was a hit.
Christy?
I don't know, I just find it sad. You know, he's got young kids, and I know he just said that he thinks it's really cool, but I don't think it's going to be so cool for them. I remember 10 years ago, Playboy did a very good interview with him, and even back then, he just came across as a troubled person, and I just don't like seeing people go through that in such a public way.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, and you got to worry about the kids if the stories of drugs are true. Porn stars, prostitutes, you know, if all of that's going on in his life, you know, it's going to get in the way of his parenting.
It's a terrible thing for the kids. I agree with Christy. It really is, you know, you pop with the porn stars and carrying on, and don't think that this hasn't had an impact on him, and it will have a greater one later. I think he's doing a great disservice. He's a sick guy. There's no doubt about it.
So what are your interactions with him?
Well, I want to keep it, so I didn't say it would be public, but you know, I think there's another side of him that maybe the public isn't seeing. And that was what I took out of it. And, you know, look, I think I really believe that the media wants to build people up, smash them down, but I think the public has a capacity for compassion and redemption.
Yeah, but shouldn't the media be focusing? I mean, think about, I think it's sick that the media is focusing. I open the paper, there he is, TV, he's on every single show, etc. And so why does the media go to it? Is it so compelling a story?
The media is in the business of selling eyeballs and papers.
We are a voyeuristic society. We like to see other people's struggles or even their successes, and especially in some cases, redemption stories. Last time I was on, we talked about Michael Vick. It's the same type of situation where you don't necessarily care what the outcome is. You just want to see the process.
Well, there's a little bit of a watching the train wreck. Right?
I think there's a lot of that. But, you know, my only hope and my fear is, only because I am just so deathly afraid of drugs, is that doesn't kill him. Because, look, it's happened how many times in the past, celebrities using drugs, having all these hangers-on and enablers. You know, and they're all sucking on them, and nobody's willing to stand up and say, you know what, this is stupid, stop. Isn't that missing a lot?
Well, I think the issue here is he on drugs still? And we don't know. He says
he took a drug test.
He said he kicked himself. Yeah, but it was a TMZ drug test that may or may not have been, you know, valid. It may not have been TMZ, but it was.
But you can get clean in a short period of time, too. You know.
I don't know.
I don't know. It'll have an effect long past today.
Well, I don't know either from experience, Senator.
I think he's had so much of that stuff up his nose that it's had an impact on his brain, and that's how he's acting out in a delusional manner. This is ranting some of the stuff that he's carried on.
I think he's angry.
And it's sad, and it really is sad. Talk about redemption. I hope he does make it back. I really hope he does and cleans up his act.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back more with our great, great, great American panel right after the break. And we continue now with our great American panel. All right, Congresswoman Barbara Lee's back in the news. And, you know, we're talking about, what, a $14 trillion deficit, trillion-dollar deficits as far as the eye can see. And so we've got to have some cuts. And they have temporarily stopped this government shutdown this week. But we only have a 2-week extension. Now, she says that any budget cuts will undermine the legacy of the civil rights movement. You got to be kidding me. Here's what she said.
It's really especially poignant that this year during Black History Month, the Republican leadership has proposed a budget for fiscal year 2011 that will fall most heavily, mind you, on the backs of the most vulnerable in our society, African Americans, Latinos, and poor, those who have been shut out of the American dream. At a time when we should be remembering and uplifting the accomplishments and contributions of African Americans to the history, culture, civil rights, and economy of America, we are literally, during this month, debating steps that will severely undercut and undermine that legacy.
No, I think she's got it backwards. Because if we burden our kids with unsustainable debt for the rest of their lives, we're robbing them of their shot at the American dream.
I understand the political game that's being played with this specific quote. However, I think the race card is unfounded. I think this is more of a socioeconomic debate that should be going on.
It's poignant during during Black History Month.
I understand what she's saying.
That blacks are the most vulnerable in society. Wait a minute. Listen, every child in America is going to be burdened with this debt and this deficit. They're going to spend their entire lives paying this back.
Yes, the deficit is a huge problem for the next generation after that. At the same time, while I don't think that it needed to be put in a racial context at all, I think there is a point that needs to be made, which is that as we're making the decisions about how to cut and what to cut, we also have to think about the differences between investments and costs. So Moody's today said that if we went with the $60 billion that have been recommended by the GOP,
it's a drop in the bucket.
We'd lose 700,000 jobs this year. Goldman just produced a report that said that the growth in the second half would be cut by half. So the differences between cutting unnecessary spending and cutting job training or
energy
efficiency.
Understand. Christy,
so those are the points that you should argue it on. You shouldn't make it about race.
The CBO just said that the Obamacare health care bill is going to cost us 850,000 jobs. You're a businesswoman.
Yep.
You know how to balance the budget. And guess what? If revenues start slipping and sales start slipping, you're going to pull your belt tight and you're going to make sure your business survives tougher times. Why don't we expect that from government? Why don't we demand they balance their budget?
I do expect that from government. My only point is that there's smart cuts and there's stupid cuts. There's smart tax policy and there's stupid tax policy. And cutting investments that are in things like job training is not a smart cut. Cutting wasteful spending by the Pentagon, cutting ethanol subsidies. There are a lot of smart
If we're going to deal
cuts.
with the real cuts, it's got to be entitlement.
Well,
I agree with that from both sides, and everybody is playing chicken on that one.
Everybody. Well, no, the Republicans are going to deal with it when their budget comes out in April for next year.
That would be good if they put it on the table, because then I think that they'll partner with the administration.
I want to tell you something. I think that the budget put forth by the president is almost treasonous, and I'll tell you why. Because he didn't have the courage to say we have to deal with the growth in entitlements. And no one is saying do away with Social Security, but you got to have some changes that'll put it on a sound position. Medicare, Medicaid. These are that's the entitlements. That's where the money is. And by the way, my Republican colleagues, they won't get near it. So you have both.
Hang on a second. I talked to Paul Ryan, Eric Cantor, John
On
Boehner,
TV?
Both. On TV and off TV.
Listen,
Paul Ryan was on last night. Remember, we're dealing with last year's budget because they didn't pass it. For next year, when they propose a budget, entitlements, Social Security, Medicare, all they're going to be cut.
I will be shocked, and I will be pleasantly surprised if they have the courage to go forward and say we've got to deal with these programs.
But I think
well, you had 11 out of 18 votes in the Deficit Commission that were ready to stand up for this. You've got Chambliss and Warner now trying to do this sort of rump effort. So I think that there are enough people of both principle and intelligence.
To wrap it up,
5 seconds.
It can't be solved in a soundbite. And I think that's what's trying to be done on a lot of different areas, both in media and
Here's
in
the
politics.
bottom line. Balance the darn budget. Stop spending more money than you have. Greta's next. See you tomorrow night.